Greetings, my fellow adventurers. It's Elara. Welcome back to our cozy sanctuary, where the flickering firelight and the scent of aged oak fill the air, and the dark and mysterious tales of gods and heroes come alive. Tonight, we journey into the heart of ancient realms and battlefields, where the strength of mighty gods, the ambition of divine kings, and the clash between the Olympians and the Aesir shape destinies that echo through the ages. So, find your most comfortable spot. Let the crackle of the hearth, the clinking of tankards, and the whispered secrets of forgotten legends stir your imagination, and allow yourself to be swept away into these gripping stories of power, betrayal, and the gods who shape the world with their wars and will. Let me know in the comments where you're from and what time it currently is. Let's begin. The gathering storm. In the north, the winds howled through the icy peaks of Valhalla, carrying with them a sense of change. Odin, seated upon his throne in the great hall, could feel the disturbance in the air. It was as though the very fabric of the world was trembling with the approach of something immense. His queen, Frigg, stood by his side, sensing the same unease. Odin turned to Frigg, his expression grave. He spoke in a low, serious voice. "Frigg, can you feel it? The winds of change are blowing stronger now. There is something coming." Frigg nodded, her eyes narrowing as she studied the sky. "Yes, I feel it too. The skies are growing darker, and the stars seem to tremble before it. Do you think it is the work of the gods of the south?" Odin's eyes darkened as he nodded slowly. "Yes, the Olympians. They are powerful, but their arrogance blinds them. I have seen their rise, their unending hunger for power, and I fear they are coming to claim the north as their own." Frigg's expression turned cold, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "And you believe we must stand against them?" Odin's voice grew firmer. "I do. The balance between us must remain intact. They may rule the south, but we rule the north. We will not let them take it from us." As Odin spoke, the door to the hall opened, and Thor, his son, entered. The god of thunder was a towering figure, his hammer, Mjolnir, crackling with energy. Thor's face was set with determination, for he too had felt the growing unrest. Thor spoke as he walked toward Odin's throne. "Father, I have felt it. The Olympians move. Their eyes are turning toward the north, and they do not come with peaceful intentions." Odin nodded, his gaze distant. "I knew it would come to this. The Olympians are blind to the strength of the north. But we will not bow, we will fight." Frigg's voice softened, but was filled with worry. "What will we do, Odin? We cannot take them lightly. Their power is great." Odin looked at her, his expression resolute. "We will prepare. The Aesir will stand strong, and we will call upon our allies. Hel, Tyr, and the Valkyries. We will need them all. The Olympians may think they can overpower us, but they are not ready for the wrath of the north." Thor clenched his fists. "I will fight, Father. We must strike first. If they come to us, we meet them with everything we have." Odin stood, his presence filling the hall as he addressed both Thor and Frigg. "Yes, we must be swift. but we will not rely solely on brute force. Zeus and his gods are clever, and they will use their wits as much as their strength. We must be strategic. I will send the Valkyries to find those who are strong enough to join our cause. Hell can bring forth the dead if we need them. The dead may yet fight for the living." Thor nodded, his gaze burning with the fire of war. "The North will not fall, not while I still stand." Frigg turned to Odin, her voice full of concern. "And what of the people? The mortals who live here? Will they be ready for what's to come?" Odin's eyes softened slightly, but his tone was firm. "They will have no choice but to be ready. The Aesir protect this land, and if the mortals will not fight beside us, they will hide in the shadows of our strength. We will stand, and we will defend everything we have." With those final words, the hall grew still. Odin and Thor shared a look of understanding, knowing that the days ahead would bring challenges unlike any they had faced before. Frigg turned away, her thoughts heavy with the weight of what was to come. Meanwhile, far to the south, on Mount Olympus, Zeus stood at the height of his power, the storms crackling around him. His thunderbolts rumbled in the heavens as he looked toward the northern skies. Zeus spoke with authority, his voice carrying over the gathered gods. "The time has come. The mortals beneath us grow weak, and we have ruled the heavens long enough. It is time to extend our dominion to the north. We shall remind them who holds the power." Beside him stood Hera, his queen, ever sharp and calculating. "And what of the northern gods, Zeus? The Aesir are powerful. We know little of their strength, but they have resisted us for centuries. Shall we wait, or strike now?" Zeus's gaze hardened, his eyes glowing with the fury of a coming storm. "We strike now. We will take the north before they can gather their forces. With their strength and mine, we will shatter them. We will remind the world that the Olympians are the true rulers of all." At his side, Poseidon raised his trident, his voice rumbling like the sea. "I will summon the tides, Zeus. The northern seas will rise to our command. No force will stop us." Ares, god of war, gripped his sword tightly, eager for the coming conflict. "I will fight, and with the power of the Olympians behind me, we will crush the Aesir beneath our feet." Zeus raised his hand, his thunderbolts flashing brightly. "The war begins at dawn. The north will bow to us, and all will know that the Olympians rule above all. Nothing will stand in our way." The clash of forces. The northern winds carried the scent of steel and rain, and the skies grew darker with the promise of impending battle. On one side, the Olympians, led by Zeus, prepared for war. On the other, the Aesir, under the leadership of Odin, gathered their forces, ready to defend their realm from the wrath of the southern gods. The gods knew that this was not just a war of strength, but a contest of wits, cunning, and divine strategy. The clash of forces was inevitable. In the grand hall of Valhalla, Odin stood before his council. Frigg, his queen, and his trusted warriors, including Thor, Tyr, and Loki, watched with intense focus as Odin surveyed the battlefield through his mystical eye, knowing that Zeus would not hesitate to strike the north with all his might. "We cannot rely on brute strength alone," Odin spoke, his voice deep and commanding. "The Olympians are powerful, but they are also arrogant. They underestimate the strength of our will and the wisdom of our ancestors. We will strike them where they do not expect." Thor stepped forward, his hammer Mjolnir crackling with divine energy. "Father, I will lead the charge. We will show them the strength of the Aesir." Odin placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You will be ready, Thor. But remember, strength alone will not win this war. We must also have the advantage of surprise. I have already sent Hel to raise the dead. The spirits of the ancient warriors will fight alongside us." Loki, ever the trickster, smiled slyly. "A good plan, father. But there is one thing the Olympians don't know about us. We don't always play fair." Frigg glanced at Loki, wary of his devious nature, but Odin nodded in approval. "Yes, Loki. We shall make our own rules. Now, prepare yourselves. The Olympians will soon be upon us." Meanwhile, on Mount Olympus, Zeus stood at the helm of the Olympian forces, his thunderbolt crackling with lightning. The gods of the south, including Poseidon, Ares, and Hera, stood behind him, eager for war. "We will crush them," Zeus declared, his voice booming like thunder. "The north is ours for the taking. With my thunderbolt and the might of the sea, we will shatter their defenses." Ares, the god of war, grinned, his eyes gleaming with bloodlust. "Finally, a worthy battle. I will lead the armies to crush them underfoot." Poseidon, his trident in hand, nodded. "The seas will flood their lands, and no ship will escape. We will drown their forces before they even reach the shore." Hera, standing beside Zeus, looked out at the horizon. "Don't underestimate the Aesir. They may be different from us, but they are no less dangerous. They will fight with everything they have." Zeus looked at her, his eyes cold and determined. "I am not worried, Hera. Zeus does not fear anyone, not even the All-Father." The armies of the Aesir and the Olympians met on the frozen plains near the northern borders. Zeus stood at the head of his forces, his thunderbolts lighting the sky as he led his warriors forward. The Aesir, led by Odin and Thor, were ready to defend their homeland. Mjolnir crackled with energy in Thor's hands as he raised it to the sky, summoning the power of the storm. The first clash was fierce. Zeus unleashed a powerful bolt of lightning, shattering the earth beneath him, while Odin used his spear, Gungnir, to strike down the Olympian forces. The ground trembled as both sides collided with unstoppable force. Thor charged forward, facing Ares, who was eager for battle. The two gods clashed in a thunderous display of strength and fury, their weapons striking with such force that the earth itself seemed to shake beneath them. Mjolnir collided with Ares' sword, sending sparks flying into the air, as the sound of their battle echoed across the field. In the midst of the chaos, Poseidon summoned the power of the sea, raising massive waves that crashed against the northern coast, threatening to flood the Aesir's lands. But the Aesir were prepared. Loki, ever the trickster, had already placed enchanted wards upon the land, causing the waves to crash harmlessly against invisible barriers. As the battle raged on, it became clear that neither side would be able to claim victory easily. The Olympians fought with the fury of storms, while the Aesir defended their land with the power of the earth and the dead. Odin's strategic mind worked like a master chess player. He knew that the Olympians' strength was overwhelming, but they lacked the cunning and adaptability of the Aesir. Loki's deceptions sowed confusion in the ranks of the Olympians, while Hel's undead warriors pushed forward, their strength revitalized with each fallen foe. But even as the Aesir began to turn the tide of battle, Zeus and Odin locked eyes across the battlefield. Zeus, the master of storms, and Odin, the god of wisdom and strategy, knew that the real battle would soon begin. The clash of their powers would determine the fate of the realms. As the forces of both sides continued to battle, the gods realized that the war was far from over. Both sides had suffered losses, but the true test of their strength, strategy, and divine power would unfold in the coming days. Would the Olympians overcome the Aesir, or would the wisdom of Odin and the fury of the Aesir prove to be a match for the might of Zeus and his gods? Only time would tell, but the war was far from finished. The reckoning. The battle had raged for days, the heavens torn apart by the thunderbolts of Zeus and the fury of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. The Olympians and Aesir clashed in a war of gods, their power shaking the very foundations of the earth. The ground was scorched, the skies blackened, and the winds howled as the two pantheons fought for supremacy. Both sides had taken heavy losses, but none more so than the gods themselves. The time for skirmishes was over. Now, only the reckoning remained. At the heart of the battlefield, Zeus stood, his thunderbolt crackling with energy, his gaze cold and focused. The Olympians had pushed the Aesir back, but at great cost. Poseidon was weary, his control over the seas strained by the fierce opposition. Ares, though relentless, had taken blows from Thor that had left him limping, and Hera stood by her husband, worried not only for their victory, but for the future of their gods. Zeus's voice thundered as he called out to his forces, rallying them for one final push. "This ends today. The north will bow to us, and the heavens will be ours to command." His thunderbolts lit the sky, each strike a declaration of his unyielding power. But despite his confidence, there was a flicker of concern in his eyes. The Aesir were not like mortal foes, and the battle had taken far longer than expected. Far to the north, the Aesir were not yet broken. Odin, though injured, stood tall, his wisdom sharp as ever. Frigg, standing by his side, kept a steady gaze on their enemies, while Thor prepared for the final strike. The Valkyries had fought valiantly, but the toll was visible, and the undead warriors raised by Hel had begun to fall. However, Odin was unshaken. "We will not yield," Odin declared, his voice steady but powerful. "Zeus may be mighty, but he has not faced the wrath of the Aesir in full. We fight for our realm, for our gods, and for the future." Loki grinned, always the cunning strategist. "Let us see if his thunder can match our fury." With a single command, Zeus launched himself into the air, his thunderbolt raised high. The skies cracked open above the battlefield as a bolt of lightning tore through the clouds. It was a strike aimed directly at Odin, the final test of strength between the two gods. But Odin was ready. He raised Gungnir, his mighty spear, and called upon the power of the Allfather. The ground trembled as his spear met Zeus's thunderbolt, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. Energy rippled across the sky, the force of the collision sending shockwaves that rattled the heavens themselves. Thor, his eyes filled with battle lust, charged forward to meet Ares once again. The two gods collided with such force that the air itself seemed to explode. Mjolnir crackled with lightning, clashing against Ares' sword, as their weapons sent sparks flying in every direction. Thunder rolled, and the ground cracked beneath them. But this time, Thor was ready. With a roar, he swung Mjolnir with all his might, sending Ares flying back. The god of war, though strong, was no match for the fury of Thor, and he fell, defeated for the moment. As Zeus and Odin locked their gazes, the real battle began. Zeus, the master of storms, struck again and again with his thunderbolts, each one seeking to end the war in one decisive blow. But Odin's wisdom and experience allowed him to avoid the worst of the strikes. He countered with Gungnir, his spear glowing with ancient power, as he forced Zeus to the edge of the battlefield. The two gods fought with all their might, their blows causing rifts in the land beneath them. The earth trembled, the sky shattered, and the very fabric of reality seemed to bend beneath the weight of their divine struggle. As the battle reached its zenith, it was Hera and Frigg who played a crucial role. The two queens, watching the battle unfold, knew that the war could not be won by force alone. Hera, with her keen sense of politics, whispered into Zeus's ear, urging him to press on with more fury. Yet, deep inside, she too feared the consequences of such a relentless pursuit. On the other side, Frigg whispered to Odin, urging him to use his final, most potent strategy. "We cannot win with strength alone, my love. We must break his spirit." With a final rallying cry, Odin took a step forward and invoked the power of the Aesir's ancient bloodline, calling upon the Valkyries and Hel to rise again. But this time, it was different. Hel, with her dominion over death, released a wave of spirits from the underworld, spirits of ancient gods, heroes, and warriors who had long been forgotten. They surged across the battlefield, overwhelming the remaining Olympian forces. At the same time, Zeus, exhausted and enraged, called upon his ultimate power, the thunderstorm of Olympus. The sky lit up with blinding light, as lightning and thunder rained down in a furious cascade. For a moment, it seemed as though neither side would give in. The sky was filled with the lightning of Zeus and the deathly power of Odin's realm. But as the storm raged, something shifted. With one final blow, Odin raised Gungnir high, its power amplified by the spirits of the ancient gods, and threw it with incredible force at Zeus. The spear struck Zeus, piercing through his divine shield and into his chest. The king of the Olympians fell to his knees, his thunderbolt flickering out in his grasp. Zeus looked up at Odin, his eyes filled with defiance, but also an acceptance of defeat. He had fought valiantly, but the wisdom of Odin and the sheer force of the Aesir had finally won the day. The battlefield fell silent, the clash of gods coming to an end. The Aesir had emerged victorious, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. Both sides had lost so much, and the gods knew that the war had changed them all. In the silence of the battlefield, the gods stood, bloodied and weary. Odin looked upon the fallen Zeus, the realization of what had transpired settling heavily upon him. The Olympians had been defeated, but the cost had been great. The Aesir mourned their losses, but there was no time for grief. The realms were in turmoil, and both the Olympians and the Aesir would need to rebuild, each carrying the scars of a war that had altered the fate of the gods forever. And as the storm clouds cleared, both Zeus and Odin understood the true cost of their ambition. The war of the gods had ended, but its repercussions would echo through eternity. As the tale of valor, treachery, and the echoes of ancient gods comes to a close, let the lessons of the Olympians and the Aesir remind us of the delicate balance between power and pride. Remember, my fellow adventurers, that even in the fiercest of battles, the strength of unity and the will to protect what is sacred can guide us through the storm. Thank you for joining me tonight. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with the clash of thunder and the whispers of gods, and may new quests lead you to legendary victories. Good night.